valid predictors for turnover intentions.
We are still waiting for Maria Tariq, but let's move to Mr. Abdul Wafar. Mr. Abdul Wafar is a faculty member and a PhD candidate at UMT Lahore. He is associated with the field of training, development, and research for the last 20 years. Mr. Abdul Wafar will be presenting his research on the impact of leadership style on effectiveness of human resource information system. And apparently, the interesting part is the twist of human resource practices implementation in this talk. And we have on the left-hand side, Mr. Rehan Ali, who is a student of MS in Human Resource Management at Institute of Management Sciences, Peshawar. Rehan will be presenting his research on the effect of human resource practices on firms' innovation, assessing the mediating role of knowledge sharing. So with this brief introduction, apparently the scheme is that I will be offering my own submission in terms of my presentation, which will be followed by other presenters within this panel. So let me start with my own presentation on gender equality in the workplace. Once again, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim and Assalamu alaikum. Before I deliver these slides and presentation, I would like to describe a bit of context. When I was approached by Dr. Nokhez and Dr. Asfi and other organizers back in January, I was asked that we are more interested in those issues which are emerging, not only in the global era, but they are also contextually relevant to Pakistan. So within that context, one thing which I have been researching on, that has been at least 25 to 30% part of my own research publications, books, and journal articles, has been the issues of equality, diversity, and inclusion. So the challenge and the question in front of me was that how those issues could be related to the context of human resource management in Pakistan. So indeed, there are issues and there have been attempts by the government, by the business sector, both in public and private sectors, in order to last year, where Crenshaw examined the amount of scholarship which has been produced by the notion of intersectionality and the challenges which are still there in the field. So the notion refers to overlapping or intersecting social identities and related systems of oppression, domination, or discrimination. So yes, a person can be a woman, but then a person can be, for example, a woman of a specific religious identity. In one of my previous studies, which happened in Australia in the late 90s or early 2000s, I investigated the issues and challenges facing Muslim women of South Asian origin in Australia. So there I was referring to the intersectionality of their gender with their religious identity and also with their migration status. So that was there. But here when we refer to Pakistan, then indeed we are interested in the intersectionality of female identity with their ethnic identity or with their social class identity or with their religious identity or religious practice identity. So the notion seeks to examine how various biological, social, and cultural categories such as gender, religion, ethnicity, social class, even family status, the marital status, the number of dependents they have, and other axes of identity intersect on multiple and often simultaneous levels and in turn affect equal opportunities or lack within and outside of the nation. So this is the theoretical framework with which we would be using. That is a universal phenomenon, and we also see that phenomenon acting in Pakistan. That is also evident in Pakistan. So as is the case with male workers, the largest proportion of women who work in formal paid employment, they are in agriculture, employing nearly 17% of the female labor force. Overall, women represent 23% of all employed persons in Pakistan, and of these, 73% work in agriculture, 14% in manufacturing, 6% in education, and 1.4% each in a number of areas. In all business sectors in Pakistan, except one, which is to do with the household manufacturing and services, the proportion of men employed exceeds that of women, in some cases considerably. So for example, if we refer to manufacturing, that sector employs over 12% of the male labor force, but only 3% of the female. So we see that there are also industry sector heterogeneities. In fact, there are 3 sectors where we can see that there is relatively significant female participation, and those sectors are activities of household as employers or entrepreneurs, and the other 2 sectors are education and health. So we see that that is also a universal phenomenon, that women's participation in health and in education across the world, that is relatively much higher than their participation in other sectors. So that is also something which is evident in Pakistan. So let me conclude this. I'm also aware of time constraints, so let me conclude. So what exactly is the takeaway from this? First of all, we have to keep reminding ourselves that women do not belong to one category. They belong to more than one category. And if we are to make certain interventions in order to enable their employment, in order to enable their progression into leadership positions in organizations, then perhaps in addition to their gender, we also have to take into account their intersectionality. So that's one thing. So they are heterogeneous in terms of opportunities of employment available and the issues and challenges they face in the labor market. That is number one. While there is a gender imbalance in employment across Pakistan, we have also noticed in the macro data that in certain provinces, women seem to be particularly disadvantaged as compared to those in the Punjab province. Once again, we are not here to pass judgments that one ethnic identity is preferable to other, not exactly. In fact, all ethnic identities and all forms of cultural practices, they are to be equally valued. But then also we have to look at how those cultural sensitivities and differences may be taken into account and if possible may be reformed in order to enable more female participation. So such differences could also be explained through ethnic or cultural differences as well as socio-economic landscape of the respective province or region. So that is where it's not just a matter of ethnic or cultural identity, it's also the socio-economic landscape, the scale of development in each region and province. There are also occupational and sectoral differences which may be attributed to gender stereotype and societal and workplace norms. So for example, when we refer to cultural categories, for example, nurturing and caring roles, they are usually assigned to women. That is also something which is evident in the Pakistani context. So once again, instead of treating all women as one category, there is a need for intersectional awareness and intervention at the governmental and organizational levels to provide equal opportunities and access to all women to address not only gender inequality, but also inequality among different categories of women. With this, I conclude my presentation. Thank you very much.